everyone, and welcome to this very first episode of Human Performance Conversations. And here is my co host, Shorombo.
Hi
Shor-
there.
Hi, Shorombo. Good to have you here. And my name is Anna Steinzeig. I'm a neuroscience speaker and executive coach, and Shorombo is a performance coach. So I think it was given a little bit of a story behind why we decided to start this series. And I think Shorombo will add his view on this, but I think my view is that Shorombo and me, we are very aligned in our perception of the word performance, which is in the modern world often means the 100% output of 100% of the time, which is not the case for human beings. And as a neuroscientist, I understand that. As a performance coach, as a person who works with other people, Jerome knows that as well. And that's why we decided to start this series of live conversations about human performance. So, Shorombo, do you want to add something to this?
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction, and that is 100% correct. And so, for what I do, there's many terms, but if you boil it down, I'm a life coach for high performers. So, what I care about is their life as a whole, and that's also why we're talking about high performance in a very different way. We're
Mm.
not just about getting shit done, being the most productive. And I love what you have on your LinkedIn. It says human potential expert or something. So something
Yeah,
about human potential, right?
human performance. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a more holistic view that we have on performance. So I think we have a beautiful topic today, but I think another topic that I would like to coin for a later edition is what is high performance?
Yeah.
Like what is it? Because I think that when people hear high performance, some will get turned on by it, some will be put off by it, but in an essence, for me, it's about living your best human self in
Yeah.
all areas of your life, not for the external world, but for you,
Yeah.
because it makes you happy to feel that you're alive and using all that you are, right? So, yeah, I'm super excited about this conversation.
Yeah. And I think I didn't count, but the word human appeared together with performance many times while you were talking. And I think this is the key. So we are talking here about human performance based on human biology, and which is different from high output computers for the best. And for the topic today, well, it might be quite unexpected, but I think this is very relevant to our view on performance. And the topic today sounds as how to perform when you don't feel like it.
Hmm.
And so this is our idea behind. I will be covering the mechanisms behind performance as a neuroscientist, and I will be giving perspective for leaders and teams because this is what I do in my professional life. I work with teams and leaders, and I help them to reach maximum performance with the human side taken into consideration. And Shorombo will be given the practical perspective, maybe from his own life, maybe from his work with high potentials.
Hmm.
And the first question I would like us to cover today is what it means that you actually don't feel like it.
Hmm.
What
Yeah.
it means when you need to perform and you cannot. So,
Maybe a good jumping off point here, and maybe you don't want to share, but of course we talked a couple of days ago, and you had an example of your own life. If you don't want to share, you can also share what somebody might feel, right?
mm,
It makes it because I think that if you give them an example, they will recognize themselves.
yeah.
So maybe you can give an example.
Yeah, I think that's a very relevant notion. Yeah, like when we had this conversation a couple of days ago, I was sick and I admitted that I have work to do, but I don't feel like it. But I believe that it's not the only case when you might not be feeling like doing something. So, to your experience, Shorombo, what what else it can be? Does it also does it only um, happens when your performance is limited due to physiological problems, or
Yeah.
is there something else that stands behind that?
Yeah, so what we're talking about is when you feel you need to perform, but you cannot put yourself to work or to do the thing that you want to do. So we talk a lot about awareness, self-awareness. So in this case, there could be multiple reasons why this is. So you have to have that self-awareness to
Hmm.
first notice in your body. Often you notice resistance in your body, like there's something in you. And I also illustrated to my clients, it's like that little rebellious child. So you are the adult and you're saying to yourself, let's go, let's get this done. You have to do this work, this deadline, this work, this whatever. But there's also the other voice that is
Hmm.
saying, I don't want to, I'm not going to. Right? So that's the resistance. You feel like there is a protest going within you. Why that is, that can be different things. So, for example, often in my case, it's because I'm mentally fatigued, meaning I maybe have pushed myself too hard. So, if I hear that resistance, then I probably listen to it. I'm like, all right, so I'm feeling resistant now. So, what is the signal? Is it I should take a break? I should not work on my computer and maybe take a pen and paper. That could also be like I'm stimulated too much by
Hmm.
being on the computer. It can also be, and this is also somebody that I think a lot of neurodivergents will recognize, it can also be that you're not entirely bought in to what you need to do, meaning you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So now it becomes a must, like it becomes a have to, and that triggers something like a resistance because we don't want to.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of reasons why you could feel this way.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree. I think that the first thing that worth checking is physiological depletion. This
Mhm.
is like, have I slept enough? Am I don't know, hungry? Or am I overtired? And maybe this is why I cannot perform at the level that I used to. But the other two reasons, they lay in the fact that everything that we do as humans, as other animals too, we do either for getting a reward, so towards something nice, or away from punishment, like
Mhm.
away from something that is not pleasant.
Mhm.
And when we cannot perform, if we are like, let's assume that we are physically fine, we are not exhausted, we are not overtired, then it might be that what we need to do, it just doesn't feel like it worth it. So
It's worth it. Yeah.
we cannot see the reward. And another reason can be that we don't want to do it because it feels like it's something not so nice, like it might be
Painful.
um, unpleasant,
Yeah.
painful. Exactly. So it's either one. And I think like we have already three very distinct states to underperformance. It's either physical or it's in our head, but it can be because it's not good enough or because it feels like something bad.
Mhm.
And in my perspective, the approach should be very different. But unfortunately, I don't know. And I'm curious, do you see it in your practice? I see it in people around me and even in myself that the common response to underperformance is usually, like, okay, yeah, keep
Push through.
pushing, keep pushing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, again, like most things in my experience, come down to awareness,
Mm,
right? So, this again, same thing. So, you mentioned it can be a physiological reason and it can be a mental block or some
mm,
motivation mental block. So, but you have to know which one it is,
yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
a lot of them are like, um, I just need to push through.
Mm,
But maybe your body is saying you didn't sleep enough.
mm,
Or maybe your body's saying drink some water,
yeah.
right? But if you're not aware of the signals, you are going to override the signals with your brain, and you're going to push yourself even further, maybe towards burnout eventually.
Yeah.
So with my clients, we always focus on the foundation first. and the foundation is movement, nutrition, sleep, and also the environment, people and places, right? So if you don't feel well, or if you're not focused enough, if you can remember, you feel agitated, whatever, we look at the basics first. Like if the basics are fine, then we look at the other thing. So, and the other thing that you mentioned about pain and pleasure motivation, um, the funny thing is the solution comes down to the same thing, like one of the things. One is the reframing. So if you, for example, if you don't see the reward, it doesn't mean that it is not worth doing. It means maybe that you're not relating what you're doing to something that's worth doing, right? So then you can reframe it. You can say, all right, what do I gain by doing
Yeah.
this particular task? Like I have a client that has to do has to search for candidates on the internet, and he doesn't like doing it. So, but by doing it, he's learning very valuable skills which are transferable to any other profession.
Yeah.
So if you reframe it, you're like, wait a minute, every time that I'm doing a Google search or a LinkedIn search, I'm basically training myself, and I'm even getting paid to do it.
Mm.
You start to
Yeah.
feel very differently about your task.
Yeah.
So then, in this case, he wasn't motivated because he didn't see the payoff.
Hmm.
I reframed the payoff,
Yeah.
and now he can motivate himself every single time because he now sees it as an investment into his personal growth, and therefore also his financial opportunity in the future.
Yeah. And this is brilliant what you were describing, because this is what brings us to the next question: what comes first,
Mm,
motivation or action? And
mm,
you basically
interesting.
you answer you answered the question, at least partially, but I would like to extend it by saying that this is exactly what happens in the brain, because brain constantly calculates. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, does it worth the effort? What do I get from it? Does it worth, like, I don't know, the struggle that I need to go through? And the thing is that we often have the wrong prediction about the effort. So before we started doing something, how can we have a right, like a correct prediction?
Mm,
We assume that something is gonna be difficult because, well, from evolutionary perspective, it's quite logical to not to do something that is useless and something that doesn't bring us the reward. So it's kind of like the energy conservation.
yeah,
That's the
man. Yeah,
strategy. You don't
yeah,
want to kind of like overspend yourself, right?
yeah.
But before you started doing something, your prediction is like, that's going to be too difficult. So this is your assumption. This is what
Uh-huh.
happens very often.
Yeah.
But once you start doing something, you overwrite the prediction, the preliminary prediction. You're like, okay, I've started doing the Google search. I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever, the
Yeah.
LinkedIn search. You put the new information into your brain. Okay, it's not actually that difficult as we predicted.
Yeah.
Let's write down this new prediction, and the next time when we do it, it doesn't feel that heavy.
Yeah. So how come? Because it sounds like my premise is that the body is a perfect machine. It's a survival machine. It has survived for many decades and eons or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good machine. We're not so good operators. So in this sense, what you're saying is the brain is making wrong predictions,
Yeah,
and because it's making wrong predictions, we don't get moving, we don't take action,
exactly.
and we have to actively adjust the predictions of how much effort versus reward it's going to cost, right?
Exactly.
How
Exactly.
come? So how come? And I have a follow-up question on this. But how come we are so bad in estimating? Um, yeah, estimating the effort and reward in this case. Like, how come? How? What is your take on that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just wanted to mention that we do not consciously realize that it is happening. It's happening automatically. It doesn't reach our consciousness.
No.
The thing is that we often, so why it's so bad? So, first of all, it's just safer to estimate something as, like, I don't know, taking too much effort because you don't want to overspend it. This is
Mm-hmm.
one thing. The second thing, and especially it's just you need to understand that our tasks nowadays, they are way more complex. They're not as heavy, as difficult as they were when we were fighting for our survival, but they are very complex.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that our brain is dealing for maybe last few decades,
Yeah.
max 100 years. We don't have it. We don't have this experience evolutionary with the task that we have now. And the biggest problem is that when we want to approach a task, let's say, I don't know, writing a complex document, our brain perceives it as wall. Like writing it, like I need to prepare a document for an event I am participating in October. That's a very long one. It's now 11 pages. It was very difficult to start,
Mm-hmm.
and my brain perceives like, oh my god, a long document, that's so much work. So what it doesn't understand, that the very first action is going to be very small. I don't know, create a new word document. So we perceive and we estimate the effort for the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
We do not understand that actually this big thing, it consists of tiny 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 efforts that we actually can manage.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one of the problems for sure.
Yeah, and I love this. So I'm gonna challenge you a little bit because this is an experience, and a lot
Yeah.
of people experience this, and that's why they procrastinate because they see a mountain and they don't know how to start, so they don't start. This is a
Mm.
very common one, and especially in neurodivergent people because their brain moves so fast and they go from one idea to such a big vision, mission, idea that
Yeah.
if they're not able to bring it back to the next action, they are overwhelmed. But this is not the reality of everybody. For
Yeah.
example, um, I have the opposite. I have
Mm.
both. I know both, but I'm usually more like, let's get started
Mm.
because then I will see the next step,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
what do you think is the default mode of being a human being? Like, is the
Mm.
default mode not wanting to do anything, or is
Mm.
the default mode the Pippi Langstocking, let's
Yeah.
go do it and let's go find it out? Like, what do you think?
So first of all, we are all different. The fact that our brain operates by the same principles, more or less, doesn't mean that these principles are absolutely the same, absolutely
Mhm.
unique. But I just wanted to, besides, it was just an example that that was one of the reasons why we might procrastinate, because we feel that the effort is too much, because we assess the thing as well. But it's
Mhm.
not the only question that the brain asks before involving in something.
Mhm.
So I think that it would be useful to give an idea about human motivation,
Mhm.
because we are talking basically about motivation here,
Yeah.
about motivation to do something.
Yeah.
And a rough formula for motivation would be how much value I would get from it. What is the probability of having the positive outcome that I'm striving for, and what is the cost of the effort? So, like,
Mhm.
basically, you multiply the first two and you distract the cost of the effort for that.
Mhm.
So basically, every time when you want to involve into some action, your brain asks questions. Is it valuable for me? What is the probability of me succeeding? What is the effort that I need to invest? And these are very, very different things, and they are all based on our beliefs, and they are all based on our values. What, like, you might be willing to involve into something that carries a big value for you, that is very meaningful for you. That's why it's very helpful to know your values,
Yeah.
and to be able to rephrase your values, to align them with the work that you do. Then it's also about self-belief. Like, what is the probability of reaching the outcome? Because if you think like, okay, this is I really want to do, and so you're very brave into involving into this first step, but then you don't believe that you can come to the finish line,
Mhm.
then your motivation will subside somewhere along the way.
Mhm.
Or you might be not fully aligning it, like why do I need to do it? I do not understand, how do I benefit from it? And then that's another thing. So you need to answer to many questions subconsciously. Again, you're not usually doing it consciously
Mm,
before you involve or not involved into something.
mm. All right. So this sounds like a lot of work. So, right, it sounds like a lot of work, a lot of
Yeah.
thinking. Do I need to think so much? Now I need to think about everything I do. So, what would you say to somebody's watching? How could they begin doing this? How can they begin helping their brain make better calculations, better estimates, of course, and reward? Do you have like a practical tool you can give them?
Well, I think practical tools is on in your side, so tell
It
us. Tell us, and I
do
can
you
add.
do you have one?
Well, I think if you
So the
ask me.
problem, let's
Mm,
summarize the problem. So the problem is that they want to do something, but they can't get motivated.
mm,
And in this case, we're taking the example that they can't get motivated because in their mind, the pros and cons are a lot misaligned. So the internal system says
yeah,
no, don't want to
yeah,
do it.
exactly.
All right. So I'm noticing this. And now I've heard you talk and
Mhm.
I'm enlightened now. I'm like, oh, I know now.
Mhm.
But what do I do in this moment?
Yeah.
What would you do?
Well, I've like my usual routine is first of all to understand where the problem starts. Like, is it the physical thing, or either I don't know how, like don't know how to do it. That's usually the case. If the task seems to be unclear, this ambiguity, it increases the negative perception of the task. So
Hmm.
I kind of like, first of all, I'm making sure that I'm physically all right.
Okay,
And
so let's
I
check one. So you ask yourself question, am I not tired, not sick, not whatever?
exactly,
All right, that's
exactly.
the first question. Then
Yeah.
you ask yourself another question. Which one is?
Yes. Another question is whether it's kind of like a lack of positive motivation, or do I have the negative feeling about that? And
All
then
right.
you dissect further. So you're deconstructing the problem. And
Yeah.
then if it's a lack of positive motivation, I ask myself, like, what's the real reason that I don't want to do it? Uh,
Mhm.
is it something that I really don't enjoy doing, but it serves the higher higher goal that I need to do it anyway in order to achieve my higher goal,
Mhm.
or this is something that I um, should not be doing maybe in the
Mhm.
first place. There are some tasks that you should stop doing, you know.
Yeah.
And then if it's negative, I'm trying to understand where the negative is coming from. Is it lack of certainty? Is it like just ambiguous that they just don't know what to do? Or is there some beliefs, negative beliefs about that? And then if there are negative beliefs, I start working with negative beliefs. So that's kind of like the
Yeah.
higher overarching like approach.
All
What
right,
about you? What?
I can illustrate this to my lens. So for
Mm,
those watching, we're also going to generate an article so you can read what we're saying. So basically, what she's saying, and what I was alluding to, is she asked herself questions, and she asks herself a lot of questions. You may not have noticed, but in her explanation, she was asking herself a whole bunch of questions. So the trick is to ask yourself questions. So you feel a certain way. You notice you feel a certain way. Now the first question: how do I feel? I'm tired. Didn't sleep well. I had too much caffeine. All right. So then it's a physiological solution and something you should not do the next time, and you learned. And then you maybe have to do it anyway. But now you know, like next time, I need to sleep. I need to stop drinking so much coffee. Then I'm in a better state to make decisions. But if you're fine, then it's like, all right, I'm fine. So what's the next question? Do I really want to do this? And then maybe the question is not really. All right, then maybe the question may be, should I do this? Right? Is it something I must or is it something I want to? Because sometimes you have to do things you must do. Then
mm,
it's not a question if you want to do it, you just have to do it. But sometimes you're self-directed and like, all right, this is something, should I do this? Does this align with my goal? Another question. Like, what is my goal and does this align? Right? So it's all about doing a certain kind of triage. You're
Exactly.
doing it, yeah. So
That's a good
question.
word. That's a
It
good
is a
word.
triage. You're questioning your emotion, and this is basically the manual for all emotions that you don't understand, right? Awareness, and then asking yourself the question like, what am I feeling? And when it comes to motivation, yeah, these are the questions that you can ask yourself to get yourself out of that procrastination mode. And the last thing, I already mentioned in the beginning, reframing. So if you come to the conclusion that it's something that you should do because it aligns with your goal and your desire and it moves the needle, then you have to find an angle that
Hmm.
makes you excited about doing it. And I do this because reframing is basically looking at it from different angles
Yeah.
until you're like, yes, I like this angle. This is one gets me moving. And then you start doing it. So that's
Yeah.
the last part, the reframe part. That's what I would advise. But what you said is a good. Another thing I like that you said is, should it be done in the first place? That's the
Mm.
one. That's why you have to be clear on why are you doing something. What is your goal? Do you know even why you go? I see so many people that if I would ask them like, why did you just do this? They would blank. They were like what? Yeah, the thing. I don't know. Why? You don't know? How come? You're expending energy and time, and you don't know if it's going to move the needle in some way. So I think it's also uh, very important to have a clear mind of what is it that you're trying to create, improve, or build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, to summarize what we've discussed, is that to perform well, you first of all need to know yourself when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to self awareness and
Mm-hmm.
distinguishing when you are not physically performing or
Mm-hmm.
you're not psychologically performing for one or another reason. Um, then we need to, so we basically need to like we need to understand what drives us in the first place,
Yeah.
because the performance is never undirected. It needs to be directed somewhere, and knowing, like, again, it's
Yeah.
knowing yourself but in a different area.
Yeah.
So when we understand all of these basics about performance, I want to ask you a very practical question, and I'm pretty sure that our audience would be very interested in knowing the answer. Imagine that's not a good day for one or another reason, but you still need to perform,
Mm-hmm.
because that's often what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't feel like it, but you have to.
Mm-hmm.
What are the tips you would give to our audience how to perform if you have to,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't feel like it?
All right. So of course, it depends on what the task is. Like, what do
Mm,
you need to do? But I would say, first of all, I would look at my day, and I would look like everything that I have planned for that day, and I
mhm,
would take off all the things that are not time sensitive or crucial,
yeah,
right? Because if you feel like that, you basically, it can also be that your day is just overloaded with stuff you need to do,
mm,
and then you're like, screw it, I'm not doing any of those things. So then I
yeah,
would say, all right, let me first look at the day. What is the one thing I really need to get done?
yeah,
The one thing. And that can be a step. It doesn't have to be the task, but there is a one thing. And then you look at it, all right, this is the one thing, and then get it done.
yeah,
Like, don't think about it anymore, get started. The funny thing is, and we've all experienced this, have you ever had the intention of going to the gym and thinking about going to the gym and going back and forth? Should I go to the gym?
yeah,
Should I maybe go for a walk? Maybe I'll do a few push-ups. Like, you're literally like maybe thinking an hour about going to the
yeah,
gym. But when you're there is no point of thinking about it anymore because you're there already. So the same thing applies to things that you are procrastinating. You're procrastinating, it's taking up mental capacity, mental real estate. But as soon as you start doing it, that voice stops. because the voice doesn't have a reason to continue because you're already doing it. There's no point of going back and forth. Should I do it? No, you're doing it. So a really, really good remedy to procrastination is to start.
Exactly. Yeah,
It's like a
it's
superpower.
that's super, super important that you're bringing it, because the action and intention, they are different things. And I think what is really difficult is to start something like this initial, like the decision of initiating something is difficult, and there are different brain areas involved in this kind of a decision to start something.
Mm,
Once you're there is several tricks based on neuroscience how you can skip this step, and one of this is just doing the same thing in the same environment in the same time, like with the same procedure or ritual, like exactly what you're describing with the gym. If
yeah,
you're like going to the gym every time, and the same gym, like the same ritual, the same thing you do, like the same, I don't know, the training
yeah,
clothes that you put on, like
yeah,
your brain already knows, like we are going to do it. Like my dog knows when I'm going for a run because he can judge my clothes. He sees my clothes and like, oh, okay, we're going running. So it
yeah,
clicks in his brain immediately. And
yeah.
same happens with us. I remember when I was writing my doctoral dissertation, I went to the university library. I sat at the same desk every day. I listened to the same playlist. I've bought coffee from the same cafe because there's all created this kind of cue, environmental cue, that here is where we write the thesis. And by repetition, by like repeating it many, many, many
Hmm.
times, basically you skip this, like
Decision.
conscious, and exactly conscious decision. You skip it. You immediately go to the performance mode, and this
Yeah.
is super powerful.
Yeah, and this is of course why we recommend routines, because
Yeah.
this is a routine. And I talk a lot about my mental capacity or mental real estate. So a lot of things are taking up mental real estate, and decisions is one of those, right? So we all know Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs was famous for having the same clothes every single day.
Mm,
But there is a reason why he did it, because he doesn't want to make or waste a decision
mm,
about what to wear. That's also why when I walk the street and I see people that have very complicated and intricate wardrobes and styles, I'm like, wow, you have a lot of time on your hand that you can think about all of those things. And you want to think about all of those. I don't want to think about what purse am I going to wear with these socks, and am I going to wear this hat, and color coordinating, because those are all decisions I need to make. And I want to limit my decisions to things that matter to me, right? So maybe it matters to them how they look, but
yeah.
for me, systemizing those decisions, making a routine out of it, takes away the decision step,
Mhm.
right? So it takes away friction. It makes a lot of things more easy, but this doesn't solve the I don't want to do this kind of thing
Yeah.
if it's an ad hoc thing, because this only works for things you want to be doing repeatedly,
Yeah.
right? For example, you're writing a dissertation, so you have to write every single day because it's not a one thing.
Yeah.
So you want to have a routine, a system that allows you and gets you in the state that you're like, all right, I'm here, the music is on, my deck
Mm,
is in the background, here's my coffee, I'm ready to go. And then you go into flow mode. So it works very well for those tasks that are
yeah.
repetitive, that are recurring. Yeah.
Well, I agree, but I think it might be also that the focus work that you need to do.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what you do professionally, but there are some tasks that require focus, undisturbed attention, and you can train yourself to be more focused if you
Mhm.
create this
Mhm. Mhm.
atmosphere around that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's one
And
of
to
the.
training, we of course talk often about neuroplasticity.
Hmm.
So postponing, so not taking a decision, procrastinating, is that also something, is that also a way of negatively training your brain. So can you
Mm.
train your brain to be more procrastinative, and can you train your brain to be more action oriented?
Absolutely. Neuroplasticity is such a universal feature of our brain and it's non directional. It doesn't guarantee your progress, it just guarantees change. And change happens when you repeat something enough times with enough intensity. If you do something over and over again, you train your brain to behave this way automatically. If you and remember, I was saying about the estimate of the effort. So if you train yourself that everything is difficult, like you basically you strengthen the belief that any action is difficult, and if you don't train it otherwise, that's the only reality that you have, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is an important one because you also touched on beliefs. So this is a belief, like everything is difficult. Everything I'm going to do will be complicated. This is a very strong belief in people that have a very fixed mindset, right? Because they don't want to fail. So they think that everything is difficult and they can't do it. And that's why I'm not doing it. I listened to Tim Ferriss a lot. He was my the life hacker, and he's a very well read guy, and he had a saying, and he says like, if you think that way, ask yourself this question: what if it were easy?
Yeah,
Because in essence, everything is easy, but
yeah,
we often believe that things are complicated. So if you actively ask yourself, all right, so I'm thinking this is complicated, but what if it were easy?
yeah,
How would it look like? And like, or just pick up the phone, call somebody, ask them to do the thing. Hmm,
exactly.
that's not that difficult,
Yeah,
right? So that's also a way of reframing
yeah.
your ideas. It's complicated. You're
Mm,
introducing a new frame. What if it were easy? And then you're looking at like, what if it were easy?
yeah,
Maybe it is easy,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, basically you're changing your prediction
Yeah.
once again. Okay, so I'm watching the time and I think it's time to slowly wrap up. And I
Yeah.
want to ask you the last question that will serve as a summary.
All right.
Um, you know, as in Shakespeare, it's to be or not to be,
Hmm.
to push or not to push.
To push or not to
Not
push. All right.
let's let's give a summary. How do we answer this question
What do you think? To
every
push or
given
not to
day?
push? So are we
Yeah,
talking about like it the when you don't feel like it?
yeah, like we've started how to perform on a day when you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Okay,
To
the
push
day
or not
has come. This is the day when you don't feel like it.
to push.
How,
Hmm.
like, what is kind of like the ultimate formula to make the decision? I
All
just
right.
want to have a summary for this conversation.
All right. Are you asking me now?
Yes.
All right. To push or not to push? First of all, tune in. What are you feeling? Like, what
Mm,
are you feeling? And then start yourself asking questions. Like, all right, am I physically not able, not fit, not in the right state to do this? Is this something I really have to do? Because otherwise I get fired. All right, then
mm,
just do it. Um, is it something I should do? Is it aligned with my goals? Is it worth doing? And if all those answers are yes, how
mm.
can I take the first step now?
Yeah.
Get into motion. Take the first step. Make it small. Make it tiny. Do the first step. Open your laptop. Create a document. Put 3 words on paper. You've done it. You're killing it. You're winning. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I fully agree. And just to expand a little bit on this doing first step, I think this is very important. This is when we can realize, because sometimes, and this is a very important thing, sometimes when we are stressed and overworked and near burnout, our perception of ourselves is blurred. So we might not be fully aware that we are not doing right, like we are not feeling right, that we are not that we are not fit. So this is the problem because when you are constantly in stress, in chronic stress, you have a lot of adrenaline. So basically, this is how the soldiers during the war, how they could walk hundreds of kilometers being wounded and depleted, adrenaline helps. And unfortunately, we overuse it nowadays a lot. So you might not be fully aware that you are not okay. So I think it's very important, first of all, to start doing something, because then you signal your brain the signal that it's not that probably difficult as I expected. So you are testing that.
Mm-hmm.
If you still, when you started doing it, if you still feel that I don't want to do it, then you might ask yourself, like, am I truly tired?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then I think it's also important to watch some signs. It's very important to recognize when you should stop and to
Yeah.
detect, for example, early signs of burnout.
Yeah.
And because performance is not, it's not a good indicator of you being well or not well. Sometimes we might not be feeling well to do something because we are tired but not burn out, and sometimes you are fully burned out but your performance do not suffer,
Mm-hmm.
because a human body is a complex biological system. And complex biological systems, they are all complex systems, they are characterized by delayed feedback. We often
Mm-hmm.
see something like months downstream.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, the performance is not a good indicator that you might not be doing well. What can be a good indicator is there something in your life besides work? Because play and all these pleasures, they disappear the first when you're on the past burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do I do, like, you can ask yourself, do I enjoy life? Do I feel pleasure? Do I feel curiosity? Do I feel positive
Mm-hmm.
and optimistic about the future? And if the answer is no, those are all indicators that you might not be doing well. And even if you still like grinding and pushing through, then it might be very dangerous in the end.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that you touched on the burnout perspective, because it's also very unproductive to push yourself in that state because you cannot think clearly. You
Hmm.
don't have a clear perspective. You cannot just take right decisions. So then in that case, I would always say, like, prioritize recharging, prioritize disconnecting, because whatever you're going to do now is going to be a waste of energy and time, and it's going to deplete you even further. So
Yeah.
maybe take this day off, go for a walk, sit at the lake. That might be your most productive move that day.
Yeah.
Because when you come back the next day, now you see clearly, and now you decide this is not something I should do in the first place. And this is something I should just send a mail and not like write a whole book about it and then put it on the email, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big one. Like, my clients are often high performance entrepreneurs, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they live in a state of burnout. So for them, a big unlock is introducing more play, more downtime, more nature, but they always have to first reframe what it means to be productive.
Exactly.
Right, stepping away and going into nature is not productive in their mind, but it's probably the most productive thing they can do.
In the long term,
Yeah,
I think the perspective is very important,
yeah,
because if you've given 100% of your output over, I don't know, a year, let's say, and then you burned out and you're out of work or not performing for another half a year, is it productive?
yeah,
It means
no,
that your output was lower than 100, way
yeah,
lower than 100%. And
yeah,
if you replenish yourself, you can keep going for years and years to come.
definitely. And it's also about time investment, your return on time invested. So your return on time invested, meaning what you get out of the time and the energy that you spend, is far lower if you are performing in a state of burnout,
Yeah.
because you take longer, you cannot decide, you cannot think clearly, so you make wrong decisions, or it takes a while to make a decision at all. So you're not efficient, you're not optimizing the time and energy that you spend. So, but if you were to step out and just go and sit at the lake for a bit, and you
Yeah.
come back, the same task that might take you 4 hours when you're in that fatigue state might take you 50 minutes when you're feeling up to par. And it might also be much more, the quality might also be higher. So
Yeah.
I think that's a very important reframe about time and energy. I think that's always what I teach when I do my
Yeah,
time and energy workshops. This is the first thing I do. Like, look at time as an investment, and it's an investment that has to get a return. So yeah, but that's I think the topic for
exactly.
another session.
Exactly, 100%. And I invite our audience to send questions about what they've heard this episode, or maybe some questions about further things related to human performance. And we are very welcome the suggestions for the next episodes. But as you said, probably discussing what high performance or sustainable performance is might be a good topic for the next one.
Yeah, I like it. And um, if we can wrap up, maybe, because I have maybe you can float a few ideas just to get them out there and people can maybe respond to those. So you mentioned, of course, motivation, and you also mentioned that we have a very primal brain, and it's programmed to think about energy reservation and surviving, basically.
Mm.
So one thing that came to mind, and what I would love to talk about with you, is if we are primed as a human being to just survive and procreate, how can we possibly motivate ourselves for all this shit that we have to do every day? Like,
That's a good one.
why are we doing all this shit if all we need to do is eat, sleep, and the other thing? Right?
That's not just a teaser. That's not it. But yeah, it's not only it.
Uh,
But yeah, I'm happy to make it
I would love
a
this
topic.
conversation. Yeah.
All right. Okay, maybe so tell where the listeners can find you. What is the best way to contact you?
Yeah, that's a good one. So we are on Substack right now. So this is on Substack. I also have my Substack. I'm tagged in this video and this post. So I share basically everything I do. I share on Substack, video, long form blogs, etc. In the show notes, you can also find a link to what I do as a coach. If you want to know more about how I help high performers in their lives and in their business. And my name is very easy. It's not an easy name, but if you Google my name, you pretty much find everything that's ever written about me. So I'm easy to find.
I noticed that. I noticed that. I was like, oh, that's such a good name. Well, my last name is also pretty unique. So I'm like, I'm
It is.
grateful that it's very easy to find.
It is. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Shorombo, a lot. That was entertaining and interesting as usual.
Yeah.
So you can find me also on Substack, even though I've just recently started my Substack. I think on LinkedIn, I have a longer history of writing and sharing important content, and it's mostly about human performance in work settings. I work with leaders as an executive coach and with companies as a consultant. And yeah, so please let us know what other questions about human performance you have, and see you next time.
Yeah, and maybe good to know, we
Hmm?
are going to do this bi-weekly. So
Oh, that's a good one.
yeah, so every 2 weeks, Anna and I will get together and we have a bunch of fun talking about cool stuff that will help you perform at your best at work, in your company, and as a human being. So make sure you follow either Anna's page or my page or on LinkedIn so that you stay up to date. And yeah, I hope to see you guys next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks a
Bye
lot for
bye.
watching. Bye.